Hi, good afternoon. My name is Rachel Frick, and I'm the Director of Business Development at the Digital Public Library of America. How many people are familiar with the DPLA? Good, great. We just celebrated our second year as an active metadata aggregation for cultural heritage organizations across the United States. We have over 10 million aggregated metadata records in our data store. We have now 27 plus hubs, which is our primary partners, 2 of which are IIIF implementers. And our hubs represent 1,600 plus contributing institutions. So this is just a nice visualization of our representation across the United States. So I want to talk a little bit about how IIIF, or how we see IIIF, speaking to our strategic development and growth, as well as our sustainability as an aggregation. We like to say our core service is our cultural heritage metadata aggregation, which gets we had over 21 million hits in the past 6 months. So we get a quite good bit of traffic. 57% of that traffic comes through our search box, or our front door, as we like to say. 43% of that traffic comes through our API, so it's machine actionable traffic. One of the core values of DPLA is that we support open source software and community sustaining work. And we like to say that we're a framework or a platform to facilitate the reuse not only of collections, but also of code. So right now, like I said, we just celebrated our second year. And we're taking a moment, like we like to say, to move from sprinting to marathon mode. How do we continue at this pace and keep on growing and being a sustainable resource for our community? Right now, we're evaluating our user experience through our front door or our portal. And it's been really enlightening, especially after the comments this morning from several people showing their aging image viewers. Imagine all of those image viewers, 1,600 different image viewers. When I say we have 1,600 partners, when we have people coming through our front door and searching our metadata records, and they click on the link and they get referred back to the contributing institution, they get a different viewing experience. They could get a different viewing experience for each of the items returned on their search. Needless to say, this is not a very good user experience, so we have room for improvement. And IIIF we see as a solution to this disruptive way of searching our collection. Right now, sometimes there are too many clicks to actually get to the content, and as I said, we get a variety of image viewers. So actually, I'm gonna get Mark to talk about this. But to just go back a little bit, not only is we see IIIF as a strategic way of allowing our front door users to be successful, because you have to have successful users to build that passion for the service so that they can recommend the service and it's seen as something of value. If people aren't successful in their searches, then our value proposition of DPLA becomes weaker. So IIIF is definitely a big part of helping with our sustainability plan. We also see our network as a way to help sustain IIIF. You know, if we start adopting and recommending this particular standard, we can feed it back through our network of over 1,600 partners to move this forward. But at this point, I'm gonna hand it over to Mark.
Thank you, Rachel. So, I'm not quite sure what happened with the slides here, but I will do my best. So, there we go. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our motivations for IIIF. As Rachel said, a big part of sort of the way we see our role in the community is to help promote open, interoperable access to cultural heritage. So IIIF definitely aligns with that. We do a lot of work, particularly around metadata standards in particular, and so we see this as a good overlap with that. Rachel also talked a little bit about usability and delivery issues. One of the major things that we've seen and I'll be talking a little bit later, is sort of the impacts of IIIF adoption and what that might mean for the consistency of user interfaces. A really major motivation for us right now is to think about IIIF as a way to make it easier for us to reuse image resources in the context of DPLA. So in addition to our portal, we also have a number of online exhibitions, which are basically interpretive content that have been developed either by our staff or by partners. And one of the major issues that we have right now is it's a process of negotiation, both from the standpoint of rights as well as just in terms of regular paperwork, to get high-resolution assets to use for those resources. If we had some sort of consistent way defined through APIs, there may still be some rights issues that we have to consider, but it does certainly lower the bar for us. Obviously, this also reduces the amount of time that we have to spend in Photoshop, scaling and cropping resources. Also, I think there's a pretty significant opportunity for us to think about annotation. So as a sort of a general purpose user-focused portal for cultural heritage, we are thinking about a lot of different opportunities, including the ability to support tagging and transcription, additional annotation, allowing people to develop additional systems to build their own exhibitions. So having both an API and a data model that supports that natively is a pretty significant thing for us. In terms of specific issues, one of the things that we've been thinking about is how to best represent resources in the context of our metadata. So we use the metadata application profile, which is based on the Europeana data model. So it's an RDF data model for representing all kinds of different cultural heritage resources. Thanks to a productive technical working meeting yesterday, particularly with conversations with both John Stroop and Rob Sanderson, it seems like we have a way forward, so you may want to place a little bit less emphasis on this first bullet point. In terms of UX consistency for IIIF and non-IIIF resources, this is a big concern of mine and a couple of my staff members. There is going to be a point where, in the context of DPLA, it's just going to make sense for us to really sort of bear forward and really sort of focus a lot of energy on developing an interface for presenting objects through IIIF. I think we have some concern based on some of the usability studies that we've done already, that what's going to happen when a user is able to view an image through our own site, which is not currently possible. They're basically limited right now just to a small thumbnail. But if they have access to the full resolution image through our own site or through other interfaces, how does that impact the discovery process? We also have some political concerns about the impact of IIIF in terms of how resources get reused across the network. So early on, in the context of DPLA, the intent was not to drive traffic away from partner websites. So basically, we are an entry point into these resources. We are helping you promote your resources. Now, we've been able to start to give some of our partners some information on how their resources are used through the context of the DPLA portal and how they're discovered. We share information, for example, through Google Analytics and a few other ways, but that ultimately, through the delivery sort of workflow right now, is ultimately users will end up on the partner's site. So I think there are some concerns that adopting IIIF or adopting something comparable for other types of media resources may end up diverting traffic from these partners. I think this is actually a pretty strong opportunity for us. We can provide some pretty strong guidance in terms of how to do better analytics in terms of looking at web server logs for IIIF image servers, and to help interpret, sort of give better feedback to partners about how to interpret their results. And then there's a fairly significant technical bar, which is, the DPLA network involves a lot of different institutions of many different sizes, of varying different levels of resources. So I think not everybody is going to easily be able to roll out their own IIIF service. I think there are a couple of opportunities here for us. One is to really encourage the adoption through partner platforms of IIIF as a service. So I'm thinking about potentially looking at vendors who provide collection management systems or digital collection systems to do this. Also, there's the possibility for us to think about, for certain types of content, is there the possibility where DPLA could actually provide some sort of hosted service for IIIF images? One possibility would be around particularly focusing on doing this for public domain content. Obviously, there's still some sort of service level considerations and things like that, but there's a lot of potential there. So that's it for us. So thank you very much, and we're here for questions.